that note, I don't have a lot. Like I said, just some things, old business. I just want to remind everyone, if you know anyone that is interested in the legislative membership chair that Jason is giving up as he becomes a superintendent, please contact Jared and let him know, as he will be the president next year. And that's something we would have to vote on at the beginning. Congrats again to our Principal of the Year award winners. And I'll let Jared talk about that as he handled all that here in a little bit. And then just a reminder, we mentioned it last week. I think Jared sent out a note this morning, but Teacher Appreciation Week, don't forget your teachers. I know it makes it a little bit harder to do things, but share stuff on Facebook, send them text messages, emails. I put gift cards in my mailboxes and candy, just whatever you can do. It may not be feasible to see each of them, but don't forget them during this time and make sure they're noticed. So that's the only real things that I had to discuss before we get into our discussion stuff later. But I'll go through the officers' reports and just see if anybody has anything that is on here. Deb, you got anything you want to add?
Not much, just happy belated Principal's Day. You guys are so good at sharing your resources with each other, and very thankful for that. If you need anything, let me know. Middle school wise, if anybody's doing a promotion or whatnot, that's not graduation, but if you have any ideas on how you're celebrating that, because I prefer to cancel, but nobody else does. So let me know. And I've got to get off here early because I've got another meeting I'm supposed to be in, and there you have it. So thanks, Jackson.
All right, great to see you for the short time we get to see you then.
And thanks for serving as president, by the way, because I don't know if we're having another meeting, but you've done a really, really, really good job, and I'm just super impressed and thankful for your leadership in this organization and your friendship, because you're an awesome.
The friendships are the best part, and I'm blushing over here, Deb. I don't think I deserve those kind words, but it's been an honor, and this is the last meeting. I don't know if Jared wants to hold another one, he can, but this guy's signing off after this one. So anyway, Jared, on that note, you got anything you want to talk about? I thought I saw him on here earlier. Maybe.
Yeah, I am. I'm here.
Okay, there you go. Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I want to echo Deb a little bit. Andy, thank you for everything you've done this year. You've done a great job, and been very supportive of our organization and helpful in a lot of ways. Well, real quick, I don't have a lot either. I will say with Teacher Appreciation Week, I've sent out a couple things to my staff, but basically I told them the next time we have somewhat of what we call normal, we're gonna celebrate that as Teacher Appreciation Week. And if it's next week, then great. If it's the first week back in August, that's when we're going to have it. So I'm gonna kind of do it that way, because our staff is, they're allowed to come in the building, but it's hit and miss. Some of them pretty much are all remote and are able to do everything from home, and some of them still like to be around the brick and mortar that we have here in the building. So we've kind of tabled that a little bit, but I'll go quickly through the awards. A lot of you probably already know this. We haven't officially announced everything yet, but Carrie Greenwell was High School Principal of the Year from North Shelby. So, congratulations, very, very deserving. Beth Huff, Middle School Principal of the Year from Fulton Middle School, very, very deserving.
She sent a note saying thank you this morning too.
I did. I saw that right before I got on. Katie Boland is Emerging Principal of the Year from Fulton High School. And then I don't know if I can announce the assistant yet. Scott, what's the word on that?
I just texted him that I'm way behind. So I saw him look at his phone. You can say it for me.
Matt Cooley, Assistant Principal of the Year at Hallsville High School. So I knew he said he still was trying to catch up with him yesterday, or I don't know when I saw the email from Scott, but I didn't want to say it if it hadn't been passed on to him yet. So,
Matt, I'm going to see Matt tomorrow for some stuff that we're doing with our seniors. So I thought I'd just knock it out then.
Gotcha. I hear you. And Carrie and I have kind of been hit and miss, and I'm going to go give her awards basket on Thursday. So we'll have pictures for our social media pages and everything. It's really, really crazy. But you know, we have a very deserving group. I'm pleased with. We had lots of nominations. Everybody's deserving because in every building, you know, the leaders do a lot of vital functions. But thank you for everybody that participated in the votes. We had quite a few votes this year. I don't know what it's been like in years past, but I think we had about 55 votes. So that was pretty good. I was glad to see that. So that's pretty much all I got, Andy.
Okay. On that note, I did also want to say that I talked to Katie, and she wanted to have a special thank you to everybody. She was super excited. Heather did a great job of taking care of those ladies. Also, just a note to make sure next time you're in Pear Tree, you might thank Christina or Mike if you see them. They've been gracious hosts for our meetings all the years that we've been doing it there, and they were gracious enough to give gift cards for each of those winners that I mailed to your school address. So if you haven't been at school, you want to check your school mailbox, and hopefully you should have your Pear Tree gift cards there to go have a meal and celebrate a little bit on the much deserved honors that you guys have received. So again, congratulations to all those. And Jared, thanks for all your work on doing that. Scott, what do you got for us from the board report, buddy? Anything?
Yeah, the board's been meeting a little bit over Zoom. We've got a big one coming up Friday, finish up a bunch of business that we normally would have done at our spring conference the day before. So have a lot more for you later. So probably just, I'll take some minutes and maybe just shoot that out in an email since this is our last meeting. But just, we're staying connected as a board and trying to come up with solutions and share those back with everyone across the state. One thing, you know, we have our listserv and we do a great job with it. We take care of each other so well. The rest of the state's really trying to get on board with that. Doug and Clark have been posting questions, and I've seen a few of us reply, trying to inspire the rest of the state to get on that. So if you're not getting those emails, probably would have been like 3 or 4 of them over the last couple of weeks. Double check with Doug and Clark and make sure that you're getting signed up. That way we can share the Northeast with the rest of the state so that they can be as great as we are.
Northeast pride, baby, as Deacon said this morning in his email. So Bruce, what do you got for us, buddy?
You know, one of the questions was brought up about promotion stuff. We don't do a middle school promotion, so I don't have anything to share on that end of it. We are making plans to get our kids in, get their lockers cleaned out, return textbooks. I think our teachers are going to return to the building the 14th and 15th, that Thursday and Friday, kind of try to get as much inventory done ahead of time. Place orders and stuff for the year, get that stuff wrapped up. And then the following week, we're bringing our kids in. We've got about roughly 300 kids in the middle school. So we're going to do them by grade level. The 8th grade will come in first, and we'll split them into groups of about 20, kind of help them maintain social distance. Our lockers are kind of arranged alphabetically, so I'll make the list kind of splitting up the alphabet a little bit. So they can come in, clean out the lockers, turn in their books, and head out. So try to get most of those done over 3 days on the 18th, 19th, and 20th, and then let the teachers get checked out and get sent home. So that's kind of our plan for wrapping it up. You know, little things like our 8th grade dance and stuff like that, we've completely canceled. We're not going to be able to try to, right now, that's just not a big priority for everything else we've got to try to get done. So, but other than that, middle school, you know, we'll still have some questions like everybody else because we were a targeted school as far as how that's going to play out. You know, again, that's one of those things that's just not high on anybody's radar right now, but we'll kind of keep an eye on those things as we move forward in the summertime. But that's pretty much it for the middle school.
All right, Bruce, thank you. And last but not least, Heather, what do you might have for us for Secretary Treasurer report? Anything? I thought I saw her earlier. Now I'm not seeing her picture. Oh, there she is. She's muted. You just had it, and then it went back on. There you go. Can everyone else hear her, or is it just me? No? Lots of head nods? Okay. She's typing a message. No worries, Heather. If you figure it out, you can chime in whenever you want. Feel free to bombard at any time. So if there's anything else you want to add, feel free just to type it in the notes. I want to thank Heather personally for doing all the checks and everything. I honestly feel like her job may be the hardest job of all this officers. You got to take notes, you got to write checks, have to do all that stuff and make sure they get delivered to everybody. And she went above and beyond to make sure we did that. I do want to let everyone know, I think I said this last month, obviously as president, you get a $500 scholarship to give out. I happen to have 25 seniors, 24 of which I know are graduating. The 25th is pushing the envelope to get some stuff done, but they're each getting a $20 bill in their graduation card that'll equal the $500. So it's kind of a unique way of doing it, but I thought it was kind of neat that in 2020 they could each get a $20 bill and everyone would benefit from it. So she's still working on it. It looks like, shaking her head. It's okay. Technology is only great when it works, Heather. So anyway, Doug, we have a few new ones that have joined in. You want to recap what you said at the beginning and anything else that you might want to add on behalf of MoASSP?
Yes. If you haven't typed in the chat feature, your graduation plans, please put your school. I know it puts your name, but some of your names and schools do not match up with me for some reason. But please share school and graduation plans, what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, outside, inside, all those good things. I don't know. Everybody has different social distancing issues. Probably the only one on the page here that may be the same is Helen Porter, but she doesn't have graduation in her building. So
Hello?
we have less than 10
You're good,
for a
Heather.
while. And then we have less than 50 for a while and less than 100. And then it goes to less than 250. And it's every 3 to 4 weeks we change those numbers. So we'll see how that happens, what goes on with start of school and how Columbia and or anybody else in Boone County makes that happen. So once again, if you're just joining us, type in your school and what your graduation plans are. I'm going to send out a survey later in the week that's going to ask multiple other questions as far as with professional development that maybe we've got new principals conference, we've got an advanced placement conference coming up, all those different things. Can you attend those if we will still host them? So those will be kind of the questions so that we know whether we keep pursuing some of these items or not, or wait till fall and jump on the fall conference again. Without all that said, I'm going to turn this back over. I'm going to give Heather the microphone.
There you go.
I keep having this issue with my microphone and my laptop. I don't know what it is, but thank you for your patience. And I held a whole Zoom meeting one time with my staff, and I'm sitting here typing, and this sucks, and gosh, I'm so sorry, but it's probably really good sometimes that I don't really get to say anything. But I did want to make sure you were aware. We got a thank you from one of our seniors already, an early thank you from Corbin Harper from Clark County. And I also wanted to mention and just really put out there that if you have an interest in being a part of this officer team of the Northeast, it's a great thing. I guess this is probably year 4, maybe 4 or 5 that I've had an opportunity to be a part of the team. And I got to fill in for Deacon when he decided to go to the superintendentship. and we know that he'll be coming back to us next year. But I am serving as the secretary treasurer for what we decided a 3-year period. I'm not sure how many years Deacon actually held the position because he was there long before I even came in. But that will end in 22-23. So if anybody would like to be considering the secretary treasurer position and you want to be a part, that'll be coming up. And so also just to encourage any of you to be a part or say, hey, I want to be that legislative member officer, because I will tell you that it's very hard for me sometimes to get excited about one more thing. But when I surround myself with you all, I am inspired and I find the energy to keep going. So it's been a rough summer, a rough spring. I mean, I'm already looking forward to summer, but it feels like it's gone. But I did want to thank Andy again. He's been great this year, and this group is awesome. So there you go.
Thank you, Heather.
That's all I need to say.
All right, thank you. You know, I think as Heather was saying, it's been rough, but I think there's a lot of blessings that hopefully we've all been able to focus on during these times. And, you know, for me, I sometimes, and I'll be honest with you, I question how much longer I want to be an administrator. And I honestly probably have the best administrative job in the world as far as being in the Plata, Missouri, where it's very supportive and 26 kids per grade. I mean, it doesn't get much easier than this after being at Kirksville and the rat race that the big schools are sometimes. But, you know, Heather's right. I think that, you know, sometimes you have to find the energy. And I think if anything during this whole crisis, it happened at a good time, first of all, because we're in fourth quarter, much easier to handle than if it would have been at the beginning of the year. And hopefully we don't have to deal with it at the beginning of the year. But also just a time for us to refocus and get back to center and what's important. And I follow a lot of you guys on Facebook, and I really appreciate the family pictures and the things and the turkey hunting and the fishing and the family experiences, Monopoly games, you name it, that people are spending more time with family. And I think really getting back to a simpler way of life. And I'm like the anti-travel Team America spokesperson, because I think we blow way too much money in our world on things that maybe aren't as important. And that's coming from one of the most competitive athletic people that you'll find. But there you go, Jesse. Hey, right here, I got for you. Save Pete Rose. I don't know if he used a cork bat or not, but, you know, I don't know why we're talking about that 30 years later. But anyway, I think it's been good for us all to be able to reflect, I guess is what I'm saying. And I'm rambling about that, but to reflect on what's important. And it truly comes back to what we all talk about and what Heather just said. It's about relationships. And that's what makes our world go round, and especially in the education field. So thank all you guys. I'm going to get on with our new business, but it's an honor to serve. And I think Heather hit on that. And it's an honor to be surrounded by great people. And I've been blessed to do this in two great organizations, the Baseball Coaches Association and now this. And so I will echo what she said, and I'll add one remark to it. It does take extra time. It does add a little stress once in a while, but it will never be anything that you regret doing. So you get back more than you give out. I promise you that. So if you have a chance to become involved and become an officer of the organization, please do so. So again, Doug's already talked about typing graduation things. What I thought I would do is just throw out a few things that continually get discussed. And I think the beauty of our district is school sizes range from tiny to huge at Rockbridge and Columbia in that area. And so there's a different method for doing everything. You know, we could have been, as Doug mentioned, we could have done our graduation this Sunday. That was our normally planned date. And I think we could have pulled it off, but rather than be rushed, we chose to move it to the 31st. And so I think basically we're all going to just trying to find the same plan of how do you do it and keep social distancing. And basically the main thing is how many people does that mean for each family? And what can your facility hold to incorporate that? We're also adding our senior awards. That's been a question. We're just tying it in with graduation. Some of you probably already do that. We're adding that this year instead of having it as a separate thing. And we will have a rehearsal before So our graduation will be on a Sunday. On that Friday, we'll bring the kids together, do a rehearsal, and different than in the past, I think we will hand out all their cords, stoles, all that stuff at the rehearsal so that they have to come with that on, so that eliminates more contacts that we have to do. Not sure how we're going to do diplomas. I'm still waiting for board input on that, if we're actually going to hand them out or they're already going to have them under their chairs and they're going to stand up and take a picture with them. We'll figure out all that stuff. But keep sharing your ideas and don't be afraid to share them to our listserv on those. Prom is another question. That would be number 2 for me. Doug's already asked number 1. A lot of people are asking about prom. I think if we all want to type notes and share what you're doing with prom, I can tell you at La Plata, and I think I agree with my superintendent, but in our opinion, prom is no different than activities. If we're not going to make up baseball games, track events, golf meets, band performances, art shows, you name it, FFA ceremonies, then prom is really no different than that. And so that obviously creates some mad people. I have a couple board members who have seniors. So yeah, we've tried to delicately walk across that, but that's what we're doing. And I think you're seeing more of a trend in that. If you haven't made that announcement yet, I think you're seeing more and more of a trend of prom being canceled. So I see some people typing in notes on prom. Anybody want to share anything, a unique idea or anything? Some school districts are using parent organizations to maybe try to plan something later. That's really the only 2 things that I've heard at this point. I still see some notes being typed. Another topic was Bruce kind of touched on student locker clean out, materials return. I think I said earlier, maybe in our last month meeting, we kind of had some foresight that Dr. Noah didn't think we would ever come back. And he ended up being right. So we asked all of our students to leave all their books in their lockers the last day. And we actually did a modified locker clean out on that last student day, the last 15 minutes of the day. And so our plan is to simply go through, and I've read some comments on the message boards, but whatever's in the lockers, we'll get those books to the classrooms they need to go to. And my secretary and myself will probably do that. And maybe the help of our custodian. And anything that is in a locker, we're going to do the same approach I've read others doing. We're going to write their name on a bag, tag it, and contact those people and have them in the office where they have to buzz in, and they will be handed their stuff. So basically, we're going to try to keep people out of the office or out of the building as much as possible. We do have certain things like art projects that we're going to art shows, turning in uniforms that have been handed out for spring. And we've basically left it up to those sponsors to create a plan where they meet at a certain doorway, practice social distancing, and hand in things at a certain time. We're doing our teacher work days on May 21st and 22nd. So that's the recommended plan for those. So again, feel free to share your comments. If somebody wants to chime in with something you got unique and you think that everybody needs to hear, feel free to unmute yourself and do so. Nobody has any great ideas? All right. Bruce, you covered it all, man. And then summer activities, that's a big one. And I think that's probably, unfortunately, just like during the regular school year, nobody calls in and asks about the math curriculum, but they've got 400 questions about your basketball coach or your baseball coach or football or whatever it might be. And I just posted this morning on our social media, Misha's message from yesterday, but you know, I think everyone wants to blame Misha for everything. Remember, Misha just represents us. We are the voting body that puts everything into play. And so I try to deflect as much as I can from Misha, because those guys do not deserve the beatings they take over and over. The one thing that I will say is, remember, it's a local control. Just because they post that you can remove contact days and that you can remove your dead periods, doesn't mean that you should do that or that you have to do that. And this is coming from a guy who probably has been as over the top as a coach as anybody at certain points in my career. But I've told our people, if we are able to have contact, which I'm not sure will happen still at this point, we will not change. We will stay with the 20 days that was required of contact prior. And we will also keep our dead period June 27th through July 5th. And then we'll also have the August dead period. And I think the older I get as a coach, I realize how important it is for those kids to have a break. I also realize that the difference in a state championship and not a state championship probably isn't determined in 2 hours in the summer. So I think that I'm trying to keep that common sense approach, because in all honesty, the only sports that got taken away from us were the spring sports. And, you know, baseball does some contact stuff. Most schools, track doesn't do much. Most schools, golf doesn't do much. If you have soccer, it's usually a highly involved activity in the summer. But to me, you know, 2/3 of your season's already happened. So why do they need extra days? It should be a normal summer for them. And if you allow extra days, the over-the-top coaches will have those kids doing 50 days of contact, and then they'll be burnt out. You'll be dealing with mad parents that way as well. So just some of my advice. I think we're waiting until May 31st to announce what we're doing. And I would assume most districts are waiting the same, just to make sure we see what's happening with the state and local health departments, what the president says, the governor says, all that. But again, as I've told my coaches, I would encourage them, even if we do have them, that, you know, these kids haven't done anything for 6, 8, 12 weeks, whatever. They need to get back and just do fundamental stuff, spend time with their kids, and probably keep our kids from traveling and contact anyone. I don't think we will host any shootouts or anything if we're allowed. I'm 99% sure my superintendent will say no to that. And I'm not sure he will approve us traveling in general, even if the contact days are approved, just to keep it within our school district. So just some ideas on that. Youth camps, again, I think, you know, multiple people have mentioned it, probably not a priority at this time. A lot of local leagues in our area have already canceled. I think you're going to see that trend continue as some of the bigger organizations, American Legion, for instance, Little League, things like that are canceling stuff. And so just kind of stay tuned, I guess. And then obviously we'll just wait and see what August brings as we get closer to it. But those are just a few things from us. And again, I would encourage everyone to share their plans on those things: prom, student locker clean out, materials returns, summer activities, and maybe what you're doing for your teacher work days. I think Bruce mentioned that as well. And I know we've just kind of tried to continue with our normal, all POs have to be turned in by the end of May. All requests. I ordered textbooks yesterday. Again, I don't have as many to order as some of you guys, but you know, supplies on our May 21st and 22nd, we will be getting normal supplies requests from teachers, getting all that turned in, and then basically giving our janitors a checklist on what they're going to be doing. And again, every school district will probably be different as to how you handle your summer work crews and buildings and all that. But those are just some ideas off the top of my head. If anybody wants to chime in right now or ask a question, something I haven't talked about, something that's perplexing to you, something you want to talk, feel free to unmute right now. And if you got a question or comment, feel free to throw it out there. Don't be shy.
What about summer school plans?
Great question, Julie. We do not offer summer school at La Plata. We do credit recovery, and obviously having this much time, I've passed out credit recovery stuff and packets to students and online work with those individual teachers. And so they will have that done by the end of the school year for us. And the only potential thing that we might have is some special ed stuff here at La Plata. But some of you people from bigger districts, Julie's from Kirksville, if you do not know Julie, and she's the middle school principal there. So if you got any ideas that your district is thinking about for summer school, please share with Julie now.
At Hallsville, we are going to use Odysseyware, the Odysseyware online program that we already use for our credit recovery. And we're going to try to do personal finance and health online through those programs. And then of course, each like section of those courses will be staffed by a teacher. And then we're going to try to go ahead and do credit restoration through Odysseyware. And then we use Math Excel through Pearson for our math related courses. So pretty much online only for high school.
Anybody else?
We're looking at sending out some information to our elementary and middle school parents and students just to see how much interest we have as far as attending summer school. You know, the original thought is that the parents will be sick of the kids and they'll all send them in. And then, you know, after you think about it more, there are probably a lot of parents that are still gun shy about sending their kids back. So we're going to be sending out some information just to see what interest we have. We've talked about the month of June possibly having a 20-day summer school for K through 8. And then if the social distancing wasn't allowable, then to possibly push it back to the month of July even. We sent some information out just to kind of poll our teachers to see if we had the interest in the staff. And we had enough staff members that would be interested in coming in and teaching summer school if we were allowed. So that's kind of what we're looking at, summer school. The high school, we use the launch program a lot for our virtual stuff. So they would really be able to log in and use the launch program in the summertime already without any additional students on campus for us. Driver's ed is probably the one that I think is our biggest question mark for summer school. You know, the seat time, the driving time, there's a requirement there. I don't think those questions are answered with the high school yet.
Jacob, I see your mic's off. You got something from Hannibal?
Yeah, well, in Hannibal, we're going to set our summer school the exact same dates as it was before, just so there's some finality to our summer school rather than saying, you know, you have all summer. But everything we do credit recovery wise is through Edgenuity. So we're going to run just as normal. Kids just won't be on campus. Everybody's going to be doing it from their home. And then teachers will be assigned a certain number of kids so they can verify and monitor those kids and monitor how much time they're putting in, et cetera.
And I think that all rolls around a little bit in regards to summer school about grades. Heather had typed in, I just saw a little bit ago, a question about grades and how everybody's doing it. And I haven't seen many responses to that. I think your need for summer school depends a lot on grading and how you're doing those things. And so I know, like at La Plata, third quarter grades were final for us. We basically had 4 days into fourth quarter. And so our third quarter grades became their final grades. And if they were failing third quarter, then we looked at what work had been done fourth quarter. And if that work had raised their semester grade to passing, then that became their grade. If they had not, and we only had, I'm fortunate in my high school, I only have 162 kids in 7 through 12, but 9 through 12, I only had 3 kids that were failing a third quarter class. And so those kids were reached out to, and we made contact with the teachers, and they were given the option to complete work and get that grade up to passing. And we added it into their third quarter grade. And then what we did for all other classes, students in that class, is just put an exempt in that grade entry for whatever the teacher did with those. And that got them to passing. On junior high, I had 5 kids that were all in the actual same class, but all 5 of them failed third quarter, but they were passing second semester based on the first week's work in fourth quarter. And so I didn't have to do anything with those. I do know in SIS, it takes some creativity to do that because basically you have to extend your third quarter to the full length of your second semester. And we went to pass fail. I know that was a topic we all discussed last month. And we had to create new codes in our system. I think PS and FL, I think, were what we had to do. And my counselor handles all that. But she got that set up. And so basically our teachers go in and third quarter grades are finalized already. And so then all they've got to do is finalize that semester grade when they come back in. And she sent out a specific instructions on how to do that. If anybody has questions, I'd be happy to forward her email that she sent to staff. Just let me know and I'd be happy to send it out. But that's what La Plata did. I see Kurt's typing in some notes and some other people are, but if you want to chime in, unmute yourself, ask questions, discuss anything unique about grades, feel free to do so, or continue sharing notes if you'd like. Heather, do you want anything else on that? Do you want to ask specifically?
No, I think it was kind of fresh and new last month, and I just wondered if anybody had put some hardcore things down. I know failing anybody during this time would not be the recommendation, but we were looking at even putting a not credit no credit for the semester if kids were not doing any work during this time. But we're looking at incompletes. That's what we're going to put into the system if we aren't getting any feedback or very, very minimal feedback, and then allowing students to do some modified recovery in our OdysseyWare program in the fall. So they would take a recovery hour or like a study hall just to get some things modified so that credit could be added to their transcript.
Andy, over
Go
at, we locked in their third quarter grade like you were talking about, but we had just started fourth quarter. We kind of went with some of the other schools and talking with superintendents in this area. What we ended up doing, since students are turning in work during this time, if they can, online, or we've created packets as well. We're giving them completion grades. They either get full credit or no credit. There's no partial credit given. That way we're not penalizing somebody if there's information that they can't get through their IEP, anything like that with modifications. And then what we did, we converted all third quarter grades to total points, because we have some teachers that use percentages with categories like 50% tests, 25% homework and whatnot. So we are converting all those to total points for third quarter and putting those points also in their fourth quarter. So basically what it does is it takes their third quarter grade and then they can add points to it to try and improve it. We capped it at no more than one letter grade or 10%. So if we had a kid that was failing with an F, they can get at least 10% in there. So we do have some students who were, like our 30% or 40%. If they had that as a third quarter grade, they're going to have to do credit recovery down the road. But then we are just taking the higher of their third quarter or fourth quarter grade and making that their semester grade. So it's kind of convoluted, and I'm actually working on right now, converting some of those over, because we're doing all that total points calculation through the office administratively, just so that it's done consistently from teacher to teacher, that they're not all trying to do those calculations themselves. So that's just one thing that we've tried.
And I see in a lot of the notes real quick that it is, everybody's using it. I mean, I said pass, fail, pass, no credit is basically what we're doing as well. And I think that's what the majority of people who are typing in their notes seem to be doing. And so I think the main thing is to give anybody who is failing a chance to get that to passing. And, we did say here with a stipulation, like I know in elementary, Mrs. Coy, our elementary principal, had already had discussions with a few parents about retaining kids. And so if those discussions had preceded all this, and that was kind of the plan, our district allowed that to continue. But in my building, we didn't have anyone at the middle school level that was going to be retained. And so everybody's moving up a grade. Somebody else started to chime in and I cut you off. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm going to just kind of reiterate what Carrie mentioned in the chat. For those of us who are fortunate enough to be smaller schools, and we have that individual one-to-one relationship with all of our students, and have enough teachers, that we can call in individually, kind of like Jesse said, help them through, and it's going to be kind of a case by case for us, because we are going to put in grades. We've decided actually to give our core classes that are required for graduation, to give them grades, and then our electives, we're going to go with a pass or incomplete. And so I'm going to have a checkout with all of my teachers, and we're going to go through their classes and make sure they don't have any questions. So if a parent or a kid, chimes in after they get a grade card and don't understand, that we'll both be on the same page and be able to offer that. I feel for those districts who have, a large number of teachers and then an even larger number of students, that it can't be that way. But that's one of the blessings I find in working in my district is being able to be small and have a little more empathy and knowing who we're dealing with specifically. So yeah, I think it sounds like we're kind of all on the same page. We're not penalizing anyone. But all the students have an opportunity to earn credit once they've shown that they've done something to earn it.
Right, and if they choose not to do that, then they're penalizing themselves the way we look at it. Anything else on grades? Carrie had mentioned something, if we don't have anything else on grades, she had mentioned something about lettering I saw in her notes and wanted to know what people were doing with spring sports lettering. And Carrie, I blush when I tell you I'm an athletic director as well, and I haven't even thought about that because we've had no one ask that question. And so for the majority of our people, I know most of our kids already had their letters from either, fall sport or winter sport. And so I haven't thought about that. My thought would be, as a member of the Baseball Coaches Association executive panel still, I know for like academic all-state, you have certain requirements you have to meet. And one of the things in that is that you have to be a varsity starter in the pitching rotation, or you have to appear in 70% of the games. And I know the Coaches Association just basically sent out a thing that said they're going to trust coaches to use their judgment on who would have played in that many games. And if they met that criteria, then they could still be academic all-state. So my thought would be, if I have a parent question about that, at this point, I'm probably not even going to bring it up because it's been pretty quiet. But if somebody were to call, I think my suggestion would be to discuss with that coach what that role was going to be. And if they felt that kid was going to get their letter, I mean, like in La Plata, you only get one letter. So if you get one in golf in the fall baseball, then you don't get another letter in the spring. Your first ones, you just get one. And so I think for that, I would just let them go. And then as far as pins and bars.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The pins and bars are the main thing. They always.
I think if they want them, I'd go ahead and give them. That'd be my thought. I mean, we've got them in store already, and they're
they started practice. They just didn't get a complete.
Yeah, and they were all obviously going to be participants who probably got those. Most of our kids, well, I would go so far as say all of our kids eventually get into games, and so our coach, if they play in games at the varsity level, he gives them their letter. So I think. Again, I think it'll be a local control decision, but I see no harm in giving them that to make their letter jackets look the way they want them to look. So,
thank you.
Anybody else have thoughts on that? Okay, what am I missing? That's kind of what I had on my list of things. I haven't really noticed anybody's questions. If I'm missing something on the side that you haven't gotten feedback from, I haven't really seen anything that I think we're missing. I think we're all kind of on the same page as we wind down. Anything else I'm missing? Anybody got something on the side that you want to talk about that we haven't mentioned today?
I think one of the biggest concerns that I've got right now is starting to make plans for next fall. What if we're still dealing with this, as opposed to finishing out a year? What if we're starting a year like that? How are we going to do the distance learning? What if kids are getting sick? What if teachers are getting sick, can't find subs? I mean, those are just things, we're looking at our attendance policy. Obviously there's going to be some things that, we're going to have to waive, because if the kid is sick or is symptomatic and they're staying home, and, typically we try to get them here, and kind of try to encourage them and let, hey, just because you don't feel good doesn't mean you stay home. That may change kind of the thinking. You may, if you're not feeling well, stay home, and then, getting work to them and the different things, the problems that it may pose. So that's just kind of something that, as you sit here in the office, because I've been coming in almost every day, and you got some time to think, those are the things that start running through my head, what are we going to do this fall?
Yeah, and I think I mentioned that earlier too, Bruce. I think, like I said, I think ending the year is one thing. Beginning the year is a total different thing. And I think that's a great question to ask. And, I've been doing the same thing, looking at handbooks and getting them finalized and ready to go to the printers and things like that. But then you start thinking, geez, what if we have a spike? We're opening up the country and there's more testing. And so numbers are probably going to go up again. I mean, and so, what do we do if that's the situation? And quite honestly, I don't have an answer for that. And I don't think any of us do. We will definitely be in a unique situation if that happens. And And at some point, if that happens, then you're going to have to figure out a way to move forward without optional work and, you know, basically enrichment stuff. It's going to have to be for a grade. And how do you do that for your kids who don't have access? You know, I told a parent today that was asking me about some of this stuff, but, you know, we have 67% free and reduced lunch here, and a lot of those kids, unfortunately, don't have any support at home. And so they're part of the group that's not doing anything right now. My teachers have basically said they feel like there's been about a 30% response rate, probably, if I were to put a number on it, of people who are actually doing what's being sent home, because it is for enrichment and it can't hurt their grade. It can only help it. So, yeah, great questions. And I just, from my perspective, a lot of prayers that we're not in that situation, because it could be a train wreck. Anyway,
Andy, just to chime in, yesterday, I believe it was, Missouri School Board sent out a 97-page document. And in that document, it should have went out to all superintendents. There were some suggestions about if we start the school year with social distancing, things to take into account. It was pretty detailed. I think it was from the Missouri Council of School Safety and MSBA and the superintendent groups, the principals groups and stuff. You know, it went through everything of what happens if you can only have half of your kids in, or a percentage of your kids in each day. What happens if you have to, you know, do like a morning and afternoon. So half your kids in the morning, half the kids in the afternoon, with your bus routes and the 6-foot social distancing. So just things to think about. One thing I went ahead and did as superintendent is went ahead and got out there and tried to get face coverings. So I don't know if that's something you guys have thought about yet, but we ordered 5,000 of the paper surgical masks, and it's about $3,000 worth of masks coming in. But that may be something that you're going to be required to supply kids that don't have a face mask in the fall. So we just stocked up on 5,000 of them. But if I have to give 500 kids each day a face mask, that's only going to get me through 10 days. So so that's something you might put out there, that if kids can go ahead, if they can get a mask. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot of parents who, if we are still like we are right now, that they're going to want their kids to be covered. I mean, we go to Quincy right now to the store, and if you go in Walmart, you got to have a face mask on. So just something for you guys to think about to get ahead, because I ordered those in April, and they weren't going to come until June. So with PPE and medical suppliers getting them first, we weren't going to get ours through Amazon until like June. So,
hey Jesse and Andy, the last couple of weeks in our admin meetings here in Palmyra, we've been talking about what it's going to look like if we have to go, you know, freshmen only on Monday, sophomores only on Tuesday, juniors on Wednesday, seniors on Thursday. If we only have even half of that, we have about 85 kids in a class. What if we can only have, you know, 80 kids? How do we do that? Those are some questions that we're not ready to figure out yet. But another thing that I know is in that MSBA document, I got through part of it yesterday, but is passing period, lunch times, entry into the building, exit out of the building. All those times are congested. So what does that look like in your building? You know, I think about it. I've got 4 kids in elementary school personally. I can't imagine what it's going to look like in an elementary building if you put masks on kids. I know what my twin 2nd grade boys would be doing if they had masks on their face and they were next to each other. Somebody's going to have a snapped strap on their head, and it's going to be fun to deal with. But you know, the high school, it's a little bit different. I wouldn't be surprised to see some kind of alternative education stuff like we have now, where we'll have parents that are scared to send their kids, and they'll be allowed to stay at home and do virtual work. I think it was pretty obvious how fast we were able to mobilize virtual learning right now across the state. I mean, some areas are struggling more than others, but we were able to put together pieces of education rather quickly. And so, you know, as a public school proponent, that's concerning to me a little bit, with the fact that we were able to do that so quickly and readily. that's going to be something people are thinking about. And so, those are questions that you probably should start thinking about. I'm not saying that's the way it's going to be, because like Doug said earlier, that about every 2 days something changes. But if we have an increase of cases in your area, very likely you're going to be shut down. And I don't know what that's going to look like. If it's by county, if it's by even smaller locations than that, if it's by town or city or whatever. But I have a feeling it's going to be more like a rolling lockdown than kind of what it is now, where it's just an umbrella over everybody. And so those are all things that we're trying to think about. Obviously, we're just brainstorming ideas, but those are really interesting thoughts. I mean, if you're only allowed to have 100 people in the building, what do you do about your teachers? Do you have all your staff come in? Do you have, those, I'm being rhetorical, but those are big questions what do you do about your paraprofessionals? What are you going to have them do? And you got to calculate your custodians in that, and your office personnel. Those are all people that have to be figured out, and what's going to be best for one district is not going to be the best situation for another district. And so, that's besides graduation, that's about the extent of what I've been visioning. I've been on the phone a lot with a lot of parents, but those are things that we're looking at right here in Palmyra right now. So I encourage you guys to do the same. Start thinking about those ideas.
Well, and I'm not saying that I think that we're going to be back to school as normal in the fall. I just don't think that. But I did have a little bit of a heads up. It seems like we're a little bit behind Illinois in the scheme of how they've implemented some things in this area. And Bill Dorothy's coming over to be our high school principal, and he's coming in from Unity over in Illinois. And Illinois is telling them, like, if they have to do, like, for instance, let's say an elementary class is 24 kids, 12 of them may be at school one day and 12 of them may be at home distance learning, or trying to get in through the classroom virtually. The kids that can't do that, the day that they are at school, they'll probably get their activities sent home with them, basically as homework for the next day. So those are things to think about. And then too, especially like we just talked about, small schools, we're probably going to have to go through and find siblings so that they're all here on the same day. But those big schools, I don't know how you would even try to do that. But yeah, we would tackle, like, if they had kids in 9th grade, 5th grade, and kindergarten, they're all going to be here on one day and go the next. So just some things for you guys to start thinking about. One thing I will tell you is I'm going to slow play all this. So I'm going to have those things at least thought about. And I'm not thinking about putting any of that information out until later in June. So you got most of the month of May and June to kind of formulate some of those ideas. And then if we start getting told, hey, school's going to look different, I just am kind of on the slow play side of this, because I'm interested to see what happens here in 3 or 4 weeks once we've opened the state up like we did yesterday, and what happens with the number of cases. So, but I do think it's something to start thinking about. But I did want to tell you about the PPE, because I think if you're going to try and buy that stuff with some of the federal money that's supposed to come to your district, you probably need to do that sooner rather than later, because I don't think you would get it here by the first part or end of August if you're trying to do that. So if you're, like I said, you might put it out there that kids may need to have their own, but we'll have some available if they need them. So
one other thing there, Jesse, with what you're talking about is another thing that we're looking at, and again, we're a smaller school, is checking temperatures when kids walk in the door. And so I know that my superintendent told me that the U.S. government just spent $5 billion buying thermometers. And so I don't know how those are going to be passed out. Hopefully public schools get some, but that's something that's a pretty quick indicator on whether somebody's got COVID or not, is a fever. So, in China, they check temperatures of kids 5 times a day, like the article that that we got from Clark the other day. I don't know if you guys had a chance to read through that, but from a counselor that works in a school in Wuhan, they check their kids' temperature 5 times a day. They take 4 masks to school. They wear one, throw it in the trash, put on a new one. Wear that one for the morning, throw it in the trash, and then wear one in the afternoon. And when they leave, they throw that one in the trash and put on a 4th one. So there's no wonder there's a back order on those surgical masks and personal protective equipment. So those are all things to think about.
You guys are making me think 25 and out sounds really, really much more appealing to me. Yeah, and again, Jesse, they're laughing. We're all laughing, but man, I think we all question sometimes at what point do we teach school in the subject areas, and sometimes not all the life things that we get the school takes on, and this will just be another stressor to those things. So. Well, I'm going to leave some of that stuff, Jesse, up to my boss who gets paid more money than I do, and hope he gives me some great direction on some of it. But anyway, great stuff, guys. Thanks for sharing, because Jared and Jesse, as both of them know, and they both read a lot, the MSBA document. From anyone?
I'm looking for a fax teacher. If anything, next year, if you're hiring new teachers, they're going to need you more than ever, and your support and your understanding. Amen. And your coaching. So I'm fortunate that I'm just looking for one. I don't know what you guys are doing, but I don't know how I'm going to find a fax teacher right now.
We're looking for math and Spanish. So I have to think outside the box on that one.
We definitely need to pay math and science people more, because they're impossible to find. Good luck with that. I'm lucky. I don't have any this year. Knock on wood. Somebody may call in tomorrow. So, well, guys, if no one has anything else, it's about 11 o'clock. I appreciate all your time. Doug, I appreciate you for setting all this up. I'll let you finish when I'm done, but I do want to thank all you guys for your support. It's been an honor to serve in this role, and I look forward to helping Jared in whatever way I can help him next year. Jared, once Scott lets us know about summer retreat and stuff, we'll get that info out later. I see Carrie's note says finish strong, and I would agree with that to everybody. Remember, there's no right or wrong answers in all this. No matter what we do, somebody's not going to be happy. So do what you think's in the best interest of kids, and we'll all get through this together. And as I've told our people and our kids, I do really believe we'll come out stronger, more resilient on the other side, and we'll learn to challenge traditional methods and make things better for our kids as we continue to change. That's what we do in education. We bend, we don't break, and we figure things out. So good luck to all you guys as we finish this up and keep communicating with each other. Doug, what do you got, buddy, to finish it up?
I will be sending you, Andy, the link, YouTube link of the copy of this, so that if anybody wants it, he can share that out. That way it'll go through one person, and hopefully by the end of the day, Clark or I can get this thing downloaded and put on YouTube with a link. So without that, I'm off to the next Zoom meeting, and have a great week, and please be safe out there.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good day. See you.